Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Alvita Nurliani, and I am presenting this for Morpho-Phonology project-based learning. And this is part 1 of free and bound morpheme. What is morphology? So, morphology is a branch of linguistics that is concerned with the relation between words and meaning. We can say that morphology is the study of how morphemes combine together to form words. And what are morphemes? So, morphemes are the smallest unit of language that has a meaning or grammatical function. Morphemes are called the smallest unit because they are the smallest parts of a word that has meaning and cannot be broken down further without losing that meaning. And morphemes can be affixes like prefixes, affixes, infixes, or circumfixes, and roots that attach to a word to create new words or change the grammatical function of existing ones. And there are two types of morphemes, free morpheme and then bound morpheme. The first one is free morpheme. It is called free because they can stand by themselves as single words. And in free morpheme, there are two types of it. They are lexical morpheme and grammatical morpheme. So, lexical morpheme means that the morphemes that carry the content of the messages we convey are independently meaningful. There are noun, verb, adjective, and adverb in lexical morpheme, while grammatical morpheme means that the morphemes contain functional words, so they mark the grammatical categories of language. Conjunction, prepositions, pronouns, and article are in grammatical morpheme. Next one is bound morpheme. This morpheme is the opposite of free morpheme because they cannot stand alone and are typically attached to the free morpheme. They are well known to affixes. And in bound morpheme, there are two types, derivational morpheme and inflectional morpheme. In derivational morpheme, we add an affix. It can be prefix, suffix, infix, or circumfix to make a new meaning for a word, and also changes the word class of words. Derivational morpheme can change in meaning and also class of words. For example, here, I have the word preheat. Pre means before and heat means high temperature. So if we combine these compound words, preheat, it becomes before being hot or going to be high temperature. And change in meaning and class of words. I have an example of the word good and goodness. Good is coming from an adjective, means enjoyable or pleasant. If we add the suffix ness, the word class changes to a noun. Goodness means morally right or to show emotion. Note that all prefixes in English are derivational morphemes, but not all derivational morphemes in English are prefixes. And we move into inflectional morpheme. This morpheme occurs when an affix is added to a morpheme and does not change the actual meaning of a morpheme to suit the grammar rules. In derivational morpheme, we can use prefixes, while in this inflectional system, we can only involve suffixes. Take note that there are 8 of inflectional morphemes in English. The first one is plural with the suffix s. For the example is the word birds. And then possessive with the apostrophe s. For example is Sarah's. And then third person singular with the suffix s, he walks. Suffix ed, past tense, walked. And then suffix ing in present participle. For example, is walking, and then the suffix n in past participle from the word broke into broken, and then the suffix r in comparative from the word cold to colder, and then the suffix est in superlative from cold to coldest. And this is part 2 of case study. In case study 1, there is a sentence. I unlike going to crowded places, but my friend likes them. And we can identify and classify each as bound or free morphemes. In the word I, the morpheme is only one, I, and then the type is free morpheme. And in the word of unlike, there are two morphemes, un and like. The type of un is a bound morpheme, and like is the free morpheme. We can say in this sentence, the words are contained in one or two morpheme, and there is no word that has more than two morphemes. We can move to the next slide. In this slide explains about how the prefix and suffix modify meaning and grammatical function with two morphological theories. In this table, I put two affixes of an and as. So the first one is an with the type of derivational morpheme, and its function is to attach to adjectives and verbs to reverse or negate meaning. And then while the affix as has the type of inflectional morpheme, which its function is for add grammatical information without changing word class. And for morphological theories, the first one is morpheme-based theory by Bloomfield in 1933. So according to Bloomfield, a word is like a change or arrangement made up of small items, means of morphemes that are placed next to each other. Next is the theory from Anderson in his book Amorphous Morphology about item and process theory. And according to Anderson, words are not just strings of items, but results of processes or operations that apply to a base form, or we can say root. And this theory looks at how affixation modifies meaning or grammar. In the word unlike, it is formed by applying a negation process to the root word like. And then in the word likes, it is formed by a third-person singular agreement process to the base in the root word like. And in case study 2, there is a table contents of words, affixes, types, and also meaning, grammatical function, and word class change. In the first word, there is management with the affix meant, with the type of derivational morpheme. In this column, we can see that if a word adds with an affix, it can change its word class. In the word of management, the root word is manage, which is a verb. In the word of management, we can see that the root word is manage as a verb. And if the word adds with the affix meant, the word class change into a noun. Management means that the act or process or state or result of managing. Next is the word talking with the affix ing. The word has the type of inflectional morpheme, means that this morpheme don't change word class because their function is to add grammatical information, not to create a new word with a different meaning or category. Next is the word hopeful with the affix full, and it has the type of derivational morpheme. It is similar to the word management. The hopeful word has the root word of hope and adds with the affix full, hopeful, change the meaning and the word class into adjective. And the meaning of hopeful is full of hope or having the quality of hope. And then in the word plate has the affix at, and the type is inflectional. It doesn't change the word class or grammatical function or meaning. This slide shows the derivational sequence using three structures from the four words of management, talking, hopeful, and plate. There are only two of derivational sequence, management and hopeful. And here in the word management, the root word is manage as a verb, and then the affix is meant. And when they are combined together, management, it changes the word class into a noun. And in hopeful, the root word is hope, which is a verb, and then the affix is full. If they combine together, hopeful, it changes into a noun. And here is the morphological principles from two authoritative sources. The first one is Aronoff in 2011, About derivation versus inflection, Aronoff distinguishes derivation and inflection by function. So derivation creates new lexical items, or often changing syntactic category or core meaning, while inflection supplies grammatical properties without creating new lexical entries. And number two is from Lieber in 2009. In his book about introducing morphology, he emphasizes that morphological structure and ordering, derivational affixes often attach before inflectional ones, and then inflectional affixes are regular and productive. In case study 3, a student claims that went is the past tense of go because of the ed rule. So number one, why went cannot be explained through regular morphological rules. The student claim is incorrect because when does not come from adding ed to go. In English, regular past tense formation follows the inflectional rule, means that base verb plus ed is past tense form. Like the example of the word walk to walked, played to played, hope to hoped. But go plus ed is not actually grammatical correct. And the actual past tense is went, which is completely different in form from its base. And in case study 3, define suppletion and identify. And in number 2, define suppletion and identify at least 2 other examples in English. Suppletion means that when a word changes its form completely to show a different grammatical meaning. In the word went looks nothing like go because it doesn't follow the ed rule. And that's why went is called a suppletive form, means that it replaces go completely from the past tense meaning. And the two other examples are be and good. In the word be, there are am, is, are, was, or were, and all these forms mean to be, but they look totally different. And in the word good, the comparative is better, and then the superlative is best to show degree. And number 3, discuss how suppletive forms are represented in mental lexicon according to morphological theory. So mental lexicon is like a dictionary inside our brain to store all the words we know and how they are related. In regular forms, like the word walked, are computed by rule or mental grammar. And in irregular or suppletive forms, like the word went or was, are retrieved from memory, or we can say from mental lexicon. And number 4, provide theoretical evidence from Aronoff and Footman in 2011. What is morphology? They define that suppletion as the phenomenon in which an inflected form of a word is derived from a completely different root rather than by regular affixation. And from Steven Pinker in 1999, Words and Rules, he explains that regular forms, like walked, are produced by rule-based inflection. So irregular and suppletive forms, like went or was, are retrieved from memory as stored associations. In case study 4, number 1 is to decompose each word into its constituent morphemes. The words are greenhouse, blackboard, smartphone, and pickpocket. In greenhouse, green is the free adjective or lexeme added to the word house as free noun or lexeme. And then blackboard, black is the adjective and board is the free noun. And in smartphone, the adjective is smart with the noun phone, and pickpocket, pick means the free verb, and pocket is the noun. Number 2 is identify whether each compound is endocentric or exocentric. Endocentric compounds means that the compounds come mainly from one word inside the compound, or called the head. So, in endocentric compounds, the head word tells what the thing is, and the first word or noun as the modifier just gives extra detail. In the word greenhouse means a kind of house, and the head is house. In blackboard means that a kind of board, and the head is board. Exocentric compounds has no clear head inside, meaning that it is outside the two words. And number three, how meaning emerges from compound. So in endocentric compounds like greenhouse, blackboard, and smartphone, the head determines the core lexical category and much of the compound's denotation. For example, in the word greenhouse means that a house that is green or used for growing plants. The modifier is green and it specifies which type of house. And then the word smartphone, a phone that is smart, and the modifier is smart means that restricts the kind of phone. And then exocentric compound in the word like pickpocket, meaning arises from a relation between two elements, an agent who performs the action on the second element. And number four, discuss how stress patterns affect compound interpretation. In the word blackboard with them attached together versus blackboard with them separated. English uses stress to help distinguish compounds from phrases. In compound stress or non-compounds, primary stress typically on the first element. And in the example of the word blackboard, not as compound noun, but two different words and meaning. And this is the morphological theories. The first one, the theory, explain about the compounds that are formed inside our mental dictionary, means that the words like blackboard or smartphones are stored as single words. And in the distributed morphology view, compounds are built in the syntax or sentence structure before they enter the lexicon. In case study 5, analyze the word unbelievableness. And number 1 is to identify and classify each morpheme, whether they are free or bound, or inflectional or derivational. So the morpheme un has the type of bound or derivational, and it is a prefix. The function is to add negative meaning, and then the morpheme belief is the free root because it carries the main meaning. And then the morpheme able is bound and derivational and is a suffix. The function is to change the verb believe to adjective believable or has the meaning to be believed. And then the last one is ness, has the bound morpheme and is a derivational and a suffix. It changes the adjective believable to the noun believableness, or has the meaning, the state of being believable. And then in this slide is about morphological tree structure of the word unbelievableness. The root word here is believe, which is a verb, and if it adds with the affix able, believable, it changes the meaning and also the word class into an adjective, believable. So in the adjective word of believable, if we add an affix on, it changes the meaning, but not the word class. It changes the meaning because the affix on is to reverse the action of a verb or an action. And then in the adjective word of unbelievable, if we add another affix, which is ness, it changes the word class and also the meaning. Unbelievableness is a noun. So in number 3, we can see that how both derivational and inflectional processes interact to create the final word. From the step 1 is the base form, believe is a verb, meaning to accept as true. And then believe adds with an affix able, believable, has the process of derivational from the verb believe to adjective and changes the meaning to able to be believed. And then if believable adds with the affix on as the process of derivational from adjective to adjective on has the function to reverse of an action and changes the meaning to not believable. And unbelievable adds with the affixness, unbelievableness as the process of derivational and changes the word class from adjective to noun with the meaning of the state of being unbelievable. And then morphological theories. The first one is item and process theory. The theory states that morphology is seen as a process that changes a base into another form. Each affix represents a process that adds grammatical or lexical meaning. And then Lexical Morphology and Phonology by Kiparsky in 1982 suggests that derivational affixes attach in levels or strata within the lexicon. And that's all from the part 1 and 2 for project-based learning Morpho-Phonology. I'm Alvita. Thank you for listening and have a good day.